Welcome back to Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerantz. Thank you so much for joining us again. Our guest is Jeff Dunn. He is an attorney at Best & Krieger, the largest law firm in Riverside, but he's out of the Irvine office in Orange County. Yet, you are the attorney that represented the city of Riverside trying to shut down marijuana dispensaries, medical marijuana dispensaries. You were successful.
Yes.
And in the Court of Appeals, explain how and why.
Well, on behalf of the city of Riverside, we began an effort to close down medical marijuana dispensaries throughout the city. And one of the first dispensaries that we looked at, we were successful in the trial court, but they had the right, the dispensary did, to appeal it to the Court of Appeal. And that's where the real significance of this case occurs.
And it's interesting because when I told people that there was a decision that allowed a city to shut down medical marijuana dispensaries completely, ban them, they said, but wait a second, we passed Prop 215 and I thought medical marijuana dispensaries are legal. But this was what's unique about your case.
Yeah, Prop 215 doesn't address whether or not you could have a medical marijuana dispensary. Prop 215 concerns sort of the use of marijuana for medicinal purposes, but what's at issue for cities is the ability to protect public safety, to protect their land use authority.
And that's the key.
That's
this
the difference.
Was really a land use decision.
That's right.
This had nothing to do with the efficacy of medical marijuana. It had to do with whether a city could make a decision as a land use matter to preclude the opening of these dispensaries.
That's exactly right.
So explain to me how and why you were successful. What did the court say exactly?
Well, you've identified the precise area that the court focused on. In other words, we're not in this debate about whether or not marijuana is acceptable for medicinal use or not. That's not the issue. The issue is, do cities lose their authority to protect public safety and to regulate land uses within their city just because the legislature says there's a medicinal use for marijuana?
Is public safety even an issue? I mean, if they make a land use decision, we don't want them here, do they need to say why?
No, they don't. They don't, because they have that authority as electeds to decide what's appropriate for their community. But in these cases, we've learned throughout the state of California that everywhere these dispensaries operate, we have what are called negative secondary impacts. We have assaults, we have burglaries, we have robberies, and we have murders.
It's interesting. You probably know that the Rand Corporation came out with a study which indicated the opposite, and yet they had to withdraw the study because apparently it was faulty.
Yes.
Is that an understatement?
Yes, I think you're being rather kind to the Rand study report.
Right, which is ironic because they're quite a corporation with outstanding scientists on their staff.
One would have expected better from the Rand Corporation.
What's unique about your case, your action, is that it's a first. No other appellate court has ruled as such.
That's correct. It builds on some earlier decisions in the area, but it is the first case to squarely address the issue. Do cities have this authority to outright ban these facilities?
And in the wake of that decision, cities like Los Angeles are looking at whether they can just put bans in place.
This decision with other decisions that are out there, I think, are causing cities now to reevaluate their positions in this area.
That being said, the flip side is, if you do ban medical marijuana dispensaries, you're opening the door for cartels to come back in and start dealing in their evil ways. How would you respond?
Well, I think we respond in two ways. One is we have a public safety problem everywhere these facilities operate. And so from a matter of public safety, we cannot allow these storefront facilities to operate. That's a city decision. That's a public safety decision that cities make. And then to the extent that people have a legitimate need for this, then they ought to be able to access this the same way you and I get our medicine.
A pharmacy.
From a pharmacy with a prescription from a doctor.
In our final moments, will the California Supreme Court take your case? Prediction.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think they will not take this case because I think the Court of Appeal addressed the issue with a thorough analysis, and I think it stands on its own.
He's Counselor Jeff Dunn. My name is Brad Pomerantz. Thank you so much for joining us. Back to HLN.
Charter Communications wishes all our troops and their families a safe and happy holiday season.
Hey, I'm Specialist Thomas Kocher from Riverside, California, deployed to Andar, Afghanistan. I just want to say happy holidays to all my family, my mom, Jeannie Kocher, my dad, Carrie Kocher, and my two sisters, and the rest of my Kocher family. I love you guys very much. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays from Charter Communications.